everybody. One of the things we have to deal with more and more in our digital society is, bank fraud, credit card fraud, identity theft, all of those different situations that we can find ourselves in. And as you start having credit cards and a bank account and all these different things, you run great risks anymore. I would find it surprising if anyone ever can live a full lifetime without having these things happen to you. So over the years, I've had all of it happen to me. So I've had my credit cards being used. I've had, money drained from my bank account. I've had all kinds of different things happen, and I've had identity theft. So and once your social security number gets out there, it's just out there from then on, it seems like. So there are several different things that I've done over the years that you can consider for yourself. And again, this is one of those things you want to do research on as far as like how you can protect yourself. Um, um, so one of them is, and I know this is kind of weird, but I do look at my bank account pretty much every day. you know, I have apps on my phone. I can go and just quickly look, and just see if anything is happening on any given day. Do the same thing with my credit cards. In fact, I'm paying my credit cards off frequently, so that I don't have interest charges. Which we'll talk about that in another episode. But, I look at these frequently. So I know immediately. In fact, a few years ago, it was right around Christmas time. I was looking at my bank account, and it was the holidays and all that kind of thing, and a friend of mine was like, "Why are you looking at this? It's like it's the holidays. Why are you bothering?" And sure enough, somebody had drained some money out of my account, and I had to go immediately, to the bank and talk to them about this and all. And yes, it is annoying. But I look at them frequently so that I'm aware of it. Now, you can also turn on notifications. So, you can turn on notifications through your bank, through these apps and things like that, where you can get notified of withdrawals that are above a certain amount or whatever. So that's another great way of being able to, maybe not log into it every day. But I find logging into my bank is not a big deal anymore with apps. So, I don't consider that to be a big waste of my time or anything. And plus, I can be right on top of it. Now, with a credit card, if you have some charge, you can call them up and go, "I didn't do that. I didn't make that charge." And, and often they'll pretty quickly replace your credit card. Of course, there are challenges with that, but still, a person, once they steal your credit card number, they can use it again. So you have to get that card replaced, and then go update any places where you might have it as automatic payments and all. But that's kind of the way of life today, it seems like. Um, Now, one of the other things I recommend is actually not using checks. And I think today, for the most part, a lot of people don't use checks. And the reason for that is because as soon as you use a check, anybody who puts eyes on that, they'll know your routing number and your checking account number at your bank. So, so that's just rife for fraud, and that's how typically a lot of times your bank account gets depleted, is because, a check is somewhere and somebody uses that to go and create a fraudulent check on your account. So I don't use checks anymore. I don't buy them anymore. That is just not something I do. And if somebody insists upon I have to send them a check, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not sending you a check. I don't even have any. Okay. Uh, and actually, as a bookkeeper, I had a client one time who was putting their routing number and checking account number on the web. Like, you can't do that. And sure enough, different banks started draining some money out of her account, and it's like you can't do that. You just can't. Okay. There's got to be other ways that you can, get money from clients and all that kind of stuff. That's just not the way to do it. So I highly recommend considering not using checks if at all possible. And then finally, of course, I've had my identity stolen. And, there's any number of ways that this can happen, and I think I remember kind of why this happened for me initially. And I've had periods of time where this was seriously a problem. And in fact, during the COVID lockdown, there was so much criminal activity happening at that point in time. I had credit cards being used fraudulently and having to deal with that. I had fraud being used with my social security number, so my identity was being used to open up all kinds of different accounts in my name, etc. And I also, because I live in Washington State, and this happened around the country at the time, there was all kinds of unemployment fraud, and I was a part of that as well, and had to deal with the state in figuring out and cleaning up that I wasn't on unemployment. I wasn't asking for unemployment, and things like that. But one of the things I decided after that period of time was, like, it is painful. It is painful. If you haven't gone through it before, trying to, look at your credit report and see where these people have actually opened accounts. I had to call all these different companies going, do you have someone who's claiming to be me opening an account? Because that is not me. Right. So, one of the things I decided to do after the lockdowns and having all this happen again is I locked my credit. Um, Now, you can consider that to be a big pain in the butt. I understand that, because anytime you go and apply for credit yourself, you'll have to unfreeze your credit. But Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, if you Google, freeze my credit, they will give you information about how you do it. So like if I were to go and get a car loan today, or if I was to go and apply for another credit card or whatever, I would have to unfreeze my credit, which in all honesty takes me about 5 minutes. Okay. So while it's annoying, I wish there was an easier way to do it. Um, Whatever, because the amount of time it took to unravel all these different places, that had accounts opened in my name, it's worth it, for a 5 minute pain point, of having to go and unfreeze my credit. And so, I just consider that just kind of part of what's doing business. At least this way, I can sleep well at night knowing that nobody can use my social security number anymore. It's impossible for them to do it unless they just so happen to hit the right moment in time where I have unfrozen my credit. Okay. So it's something to consider, and especially if you've not had this happen before, when you have it happen the first time and you're having to unravel this and it takes you hours and days to deal with it, you might see the benefit of going and freezing your credit. Now, the other thing that you should do anytime you have fraud on your bank account, especially, and if your identity has been stolen, critically important, go to your local police station, open up an investigation. Now, it's probably never going to be successfully resolved ever, and that's not the point. But go to your local police department, get a case number from the police, okay? Because when you call these places, like, for example, when the latest identity theft issue happened, this person, whoever it was, had opened up an account at Dell Computers. Um, and they had ordered like 6 computers or something. So I got that stopped immediately. Um, but these companies will often go, well, aren't you the perpetrator? You know, they will question you a lot and they'll treat you like you are the criminal in a lot of cases. So if you have a police case number, they will believe you a lot quicker and they'll be a lot more pleasant with you having that police case number in hand. Okay. Um, so, and a lot of times police departments allow you to file these reports online. In fact, that's what I did with my local police department. I went and filed the report online. The first time I did it, I went in person, but I later found out I could do it online. So, find out, this is part of your homework, find out if you have to, where would you file a police report and how would you do it with your local police? Okay. So I hope this has given you several ideas about kind of how to protect yourself in our digital financial world. If you have any questions, please ask. All right. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you soon.